Hi, my name is Rebecca Powers with SLCT, and here is what's happening in Sterling and Lancaster. The Clinton Exchange Club will be holding a chicken shoot fundraiser on April 29th at 1 p.m. in the Clinton Turner Hall at 60 Branch Street. For tickets, call 978-490-4402. The Sterling Cleanup Day will be on May 19th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Meet at the Town Common to pick up your free gloves and collection bags and to mark out your collection route. There will be a jazz concert featuring Guy Van Duser and Billy Novick on May 19th at 7:30 p.m. in the First Church in Lancaster. Tickets are available at the door or by going to www.firstchurchlancasterma.org.
I'm Lex Thomas, editor of Sterling Meeting House News and editor-at-large here at Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. We are heading right into a very important time of the year here in Sterling. We are heading into town meeting, annual town meeting, and the annual town election as well. And I'm delighted to have as my guest today Amrith Kumar. He is the town moderator for Sterling. And welcome, Amrith.
Thank you.
And, well, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the annual town meeting. Now, you are going now into your third year as town moderator, correct?
Correct.
So, just a little bit of background. What is an annual town meeting and what is the purpose that it serves?
So the annual town meeting, like the name implies, happens every year, usually around May. And the purpose of the town meeting is to allow the residents of town to meet, deliberate, and to vote on things which are important to the town. So the kinds of things we vote on and we deliberate on are the town budget, which impacts every single town resident, people watching this broadcast, in their taxes. It discusses things which are changes to town's bylaws. This year there are going to be some proposals for changes to our town's bylaws. It discusses things like funding the schools. It discusses things like making capital investments in town, equipment for fire and police and DPW. And it discusses a list of other things which could include things which citizens put on the agenda for the meeting in the form of citizens' petitions. All of these things come together at the town meeting where people get to talk about them and then vote on them. And eventually what the people vote on in town meeting is what governs the town.
And I believe that this year there is one citizen's petition.
That is correct.
On the warrant. And so that is an opportunity for people to actually come forward with their own concerns. Now, this all has to be done in advance, and there's a process for this that is on the website, both for the town and for the state, for how a citizen's petition can be filed. But these are issues that are of importance. Now, and there are actually decisions made. How are those decisions made at the annual town meeting?
So the way in which a town meeting works is after all of the mechanics of getting the meeting called to order and things like that, the meeting proceeds through a sequence of individual articles which are on the town warrant. The town warrant is a document which is published by the Board of Selectmen, which lists effectively the agenda for the meeting. The meeting is called by the Board of Selectmen in the name of the townspeople, and this year's warrant contains, I believe, 45 articles or so. Each individual article is an item of business before the meeting. For example, the citizen's petition you mentioned is one of the items of business before the meeting. When we come to that particular item of business and we go through them from the first one sequentially, somebody makes a motion. And making a motion is basically to say, I would like the town to talk about this particular item. One other person needs to specifically say yes, they second the motion. At that point, the floor is open for discussion. Everybody gets to say their piece about it. At the end of it, there's a vote. Some things are decided based on a majority vote, some things by a 2/3 vote, other things by a 90% vote in some cases.
Now, one of the things that's really important with an annual town meeting is getting the community out to the meeting. And that is really traditionally a challenge, I think, for almost all communities.
Correct.
And I think a lot of it is that people don't really know what to expect, what's going to happen when they get there. And so this is scheduled. This year's annual town meeting is Monday, May 7th, and it begins at 6:30 p.m. and goes likely will go until about 9:30, 10. That's about standard, I suppose. And it is at the Chalkset Middle School auditorium. Now, when a citizen walks into the school, what happens? You go up to a table. What happens?
So I've been attending meetings in Sterling ever since I moved into town, which at this point I think is probably over 10 years ago. I've attended most of the meetings during this time. When you go to the school, depending on where you live, just like when you went to vote, people go through two entrances. The first entrance to Precinct 1, the other to Precinct 2. And there's no harm if you go to the wrong door. The friendly volunteers will guide you to the other door. You check in based on your street address. The tradition in Sterling is that anybody is free to attend. You do not need to be a voter to attend. You do not even need to be a resident in the town of Sterling to attend. There are several people who are not residents who actually do attend. But the only people who can vote on business before the town are registered voters who are residents in Sterling. So there's a small distinction there. When you check in, you'll be given a little card which identifies that you're a voter. You will also be able to pick up a copy of the warrant when you walk in the door. You can pick up a copy of the warrant early if you go to Town Hall. And you can download a copy on the town's website. Those are the three places where you can get effectively the agenda for the meeting. Once you're checked in, you sit down and you participate in the meeting when it gets started.
Now, I think the warrant is also an important thing, and as Amrith has said, you can download this from the town website. You can pick it up at Butterick Municipal Building. I believe you can also pick it up at Conant Public Library, at the DPW office. And you can pick it up right at the meeting, but I think there is a lot of benefit to taking a look at the warrant beforehand.
Yes.
And to know what the issues are, and to know what the issues are that you're particularly concerned about, and that you really want to get some information about. Make up your mind, talk to people, make up your mind before you actually attend the meeting.
I would advise people, or I would strongly urge people not to make up their mind as much as to be familiar with the things on the warrant. The point of the town meeting is that you come there with an open mind and you have a conversation, and then you make up your mind and you vote. It's the purpose of the meeting is so that people deliberate. And if everybody comes to the meeting with their minds made up, you may as well just vote in an election.
Sure.
So I would strongly urge people to read the warrant. I happened to get a copy of the draft warrant several weeks ago. It takes you probably a half hour to read through it. It's not a long document. It is not something which really is an involved read. But it's good to know what the kinds of issues are before the town. It's nice to know there's an issue about funding the town. There's the budget. There's issues about capital purchase. There's issues about, in this particular case, something to do with the marijuana provision. There's a citizen's petition, which you mentioned. There are things which are probably worth getting familiar with. It's also important to read the warrant, and in some cases, just think about it quietly and say, what is my point of view on something? Some of these issues are not straightforward where you can just listen to a conversation and make up your mind. In some cases, you might want to think about these things yourself. You may want to talk to people about it. Those are all things which are good to do.
And that's so important, Amrith, because really we all live in this town, and what this town is and how it grows really depends on what the residents and what the citizenry of the town wants. So there is a tremendous advantage to people getting involved. Now, once you're at the meeting, how do citizens get recognized? How can people ask questions when they're there? How does that work?
Absolutely. So the whole point is people should ask questions. And I've been the moderator now. This is going to be my third year. The idea that I've had is that everybody who wants to speak should have an opportunity to speak. Everybody who's got a point which they want to make must be given an opportunity to do that if that point has not already been made. The way in which you do this is, and we talked about it briefly, somebody makes a motion about a particular issue. Once a motion is made, and only once a motion is made, then there is a matter for discussion before the meeting. For example, the very first article is going to be the budget article. This time it's the omnibus budget article. So somebody on the Board of Selectmen is going to make a motion to the town that the town, collect some sum of money to fund the operations of the town. Somebody seconds the motion. At that point in time, there's a conversation which goes on about this budget. Now, the budget article is a long article. So it's conveniently divided into multiple pages, and each line is got a line number. If you have a question about a particular line number, you go to a microphone, you stand up, and when you're recognized, which is merely a matter of my saying, you're now allowed to say something, you ask your question. On line number 50, I see the following thing. What does that mean? If there's somebody there who can answer it, they will answer it. The important thing is you're questioning the item before the meeting. You're not making statements about people. You're not making statements about other attendees in the meeting. Those would be disruptive. You're not criticizing the people, you're discussing the ideas. That's all there is.
And that really comes largely under your purview as town moderator. So just as town moderator, just give me a little encapsulation. What is a town moderator? What is it that you actually do at town meeting? And how do you prepare for it?
So the town moderator is effectively the person who, statutorily the town moderator is the person who conducts the meeting. I do not call the meeting. That's the Board of Selectmen. But the moment the meeting starts, it's my meeting. Actually, I'll back it up a little bit more. Once the warrant is printed and once the warrant is out there, it effectively becomes my meeting. There are things which have to be done, like the warrant has to be posted. On the day of the meeting, there are regulations about what can and cannot happen at the place of the meeting. Those are all my responsibility. At the meeting, my primary responsibility is to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. I prepare for the meeting by reading every article, understanding who's going to be making the motion. I need to understand who the people are who probably will want to talk about a motion. If there's an article which is financial, it's printed in the warrant, but it's printed in the warrant what the Board of Selectmen and what the Finance Committee recommend. In some cases, they say, we'll report at town meeting. In my case, I just highlight that. So when we come to that article, I'm sure to look to them and say, so what is your recommendation to the meeting? Some articles, some items of business require a simple majority. Some require 2/3. Those are all statutory. So I take a nice large pen and I write down next to each article, which is a majority. What is the quantum of vote required for each article? What's the majority? What is the 2/3 article? What are the 90% articles? And so on. The other thing which I do is I go back and read the guidelines by which you're supposed to run a town meeting. A town meeting is, at the end of the day, the purest form of democracy, but it's controlled by federal law, state law, the town's bylaws, and when none of those have any clear guideline, the town has decided to use a book called Town Meeting Time. So now is about the time when I go find that book, read it once more. I've read it now a half dozen times. Every time I find something which I didn't know. Once in a while, the state changes the rules. So the Mass Moderators Association sends you a little handy-dandy cheat sheet to tell you what you should remember, which might be different this year. I talk to moderators in other towns and ask them what happened in their town meeting. Because many towns are going through the same kinds of things that we're going to be going through. Many towns have a marijuana article. Many towns have budget shortfalls. What are the hot button topics? What are some of the things which they see? That's my preparation for this meeting.
Just one more question now. We've talked about what a motion is. What is a point of order? That's something that you hear quite often. Somebody will stand up and say, point of order. What does that mean?
Unfortunately, in Sterling, the vast majority of people who say point of order are probably using it wrong. At the start of the meeting, one of the things which I will say is that if you have a question, just go to the microphone and say you have a question. A point of order very specifically is a parliamentary technique to say that you would like to interrupt whatever is going on at the meeting at this point in time because the thing which you wish to bring to the meeting is of sufficient import that whatever is going on needs to stop. A point of order, for example, could be that a person says, and this is not something which could happen in Sterling because we don't have a quorum requirement, but in some towns, a point of order could be, we don't have enough people in the room, you can't continue the meeting. So no matter what else is going on, it's a person coming to the microphone and saying, this meeting has got to stop and pay attention to me. In our case, since we don't have a quorum requirement, a point of order may be something to the effect that there's a procedural issue which needs to be addressed immediately before we can make forward progress. There are relatively few of those. For the most part, when people come to the microphone and say point of order, my response is going to be, what is your point of order? And they will tell me whatever it is. And if it is a valid point of order, I will say, yep, we have to do that thing. And we will do that thing which they're saying before we go back to whatever we were up to. That's a point of order.
Well, like you, Amrith, I've been attending these for years, and I always look forward to them. I actually do. And this is just going to be, I think, an excellent meeting. And as I said earlier, too, this is your third year, and you are up for re-election this year, as well as town moderator. The annual town election is on May 14th, and I wish you all the best of luck with that.
Thank you.
I think you've been a marvelous town moderator. May 7th, the annual town meeting. Get your warrant, get prepared, know what the issues are, and keep an eye as well on the SLCT listings. I will be doing a live broadcast that will be rebroadcast several times with Amrith and members of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, as well as the town administrator, to look individually at a lot of the warrant items, so that can also help our viewers to get prepared. Amrith, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak with me, and I look forward to seeing you at the annual town meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The 40th anniversary concert of the Assabet Valley Master Singers will be on May 6th at the J Performance Center at St. John's High School in Shrewsbury at 3:30 p.m. For more information, visit www.avmsingers.org. The First Church in Sterling will hold a community lunch on May 5th at noon in the church hall. No cost and no reservations needed. All are welcome. For more information, call 978-422-6657 or visit www.fcsterling.org. The 4th Annual Student Poetry Contest will take place on April 27th at 6:30 p.m. in the MRE Auditorium. This contest is open to grades 1 through 12 in the Neshoba District. To submit your poetry, email 7bridgewriterscollaborative@gmail.com. I'm Rebecca Powers, and that's what's happening.